5 defeats in a row for Newcastle. And the thing I noticed different about this one was that the way we felt after the game, like normally when Newcastle lose, me and the lads were fucking down, we're annoyed, we're pissed off. It was as if the game never even happened. Yeah, we had a little debrief, but afterwards carried on as if nothing happened because this is just normal. I go into every single game not expecting anything. And every time Newcastle deliver on that promise. And really, that should be the thing that scares the owners more than anything. The fact that like die-hard fans now who love this club are just so like, whatever. Because if you haven't got a fan base that really is invested and passionate and believing in anything you're doing, well, what have you got then? Certainly ain't getting any points, so that was our 5th defeat in a row. And that 5 defeats in a row is quite interesting right now in football because Liam Rossini just lost his job at Chelsea for losing 5 in a row. And there are some similarities between the two situations. You know, Liam Rossini as Chelsea, they spent upwards of 250 million in the summer as well. Both Newcastle and Chelsea qualified for the Champions League last year. Now, the big difference between the two situations is that Liam Rossini had inherited his squad at Chelsea. That wasn't his group of players. He was having to make do with what he was lumbered with. Eddie Howe has had 4.5 years to build this squad in his own image, exactly how he wants it to be. 700 million spent, and we're losing 5 in a row. There are far more excuses that Liam Rossini could have than what Eddie Howe has. And yet Eddie Howe's the man who seems to be untouchable at Newcastle. You can say what you want about Chelsea. It's a basket case of a football club, but at least they've got fucking standards. Because the standards at Newcastle, that's the thing that's really hitting me right now. They've gone through the fucking flow. And it's come all the way from the manager, and it's now filtering into many in the fan base who are basically being brainwashed by Eddie Howe to try and find the positives when we're getting beat. And apparently before the game, the Newcastle owners gave word to the press that basically Eddie Howe will be manager next season. And I'm going to get into that at the end of this video, but let's just bear that in mind here. This game against Arsenal, while they're top of the league, yes, was a real chance for us. They've lost a few themselves lately. They're looking shaky. That stadium, the nerves was palpable. Arsenal might be at the top end of the league. That's the only thing that looks elite about them right now. They do not look like an elite football side at all. And this was not a home atmosphere that was in the least bit intimidating. This was the perfect away game in terms of playing a side that are shitting themselves. And this isn't me digging out Arsenal. A few years ago, this was a hell of a fucking side. Very entertaining to watch. And they've done well to be where they are this season, but let's be real here. Fuck me. They look terrible right now. Watching them in the last few games, it's amazing they are where they are in the league. I mean, you look at Newcastle's last 12 results in the league. We've won 3 games and we've lost 9. And still Arsenal struggled with us in this game. This was a real chance blown. People say, it was a good performance. It wasn't a good performance. Like, that's bullshit. If you think that was good, you don't know football, I'm afraid. You could say it was better than the last few games where we've been horrific, where the bar is on the floor and anything even resembling effort would look better. All right, that's a fair argument. But to say we played well, you're talking shit. We created 1 good chance in 97 minutes of football. Don't talk to me about playing well. This was a shit game between 2 shit sides. That's actually the truth of it. And I don't care where Arsenal are in the league or where we are in the league. That's irrelevant. It was shit. And they both played shit. Aside from a hint of quality in a sea of dog shit. Many Newcastle teams of the past, including previous Eddie Howe sides, would have gotten a draw or a win out of that game. But we haven't got it. We haven't got the capability after all the money Eddie spent. We haven't got anything in us to even get a draw in a game like that, which is crying out for it. And I look at the way Iraola set Bournemouth up the week before against Arsenal and really took the game to them, attacked them, exploited the nerves and exploited the weaknesses in the side. Eddie is just the complete opposite of that guy. He does the exact opposite. It's all fear-based. It's all worry. And truthfully, that's the only reason, Newcastle didn't get humped in this game. We actually raised our levels of effort just enough because those lads were scared of being embarrassed. Because it's no coincidence we don't try as hard as that in games against your Bournemouths. Like, that's not a coincidence. That's consistent with us. It's not uncharacteristic. It's very characteristic of us. So Eddie lines up with a surprising team, not for the first time this season, where you're like, really? Is that what we're doing, is it? He plays Dan Burn at left-back over Lewis Hall. He basically says he doesn't doubt the qualities Lewis brings to the team, but for a number of reasons, list them then. Tell us what they are. Dan was the right pick in terms of the height and physicality in dealing with Arsenal's set pieces. Ironically, we conceded a set piece within 10 minutes of starting the fucking kickoff. Lewis Hall is one of the best footballers Newcastle have in the squad. I'm talking top 5. Easily. If the whole of the Newcastle squad was available to be picked from for other teams to look at to buy a player in our squad, Lewis Hall would be in that top 5 straight away. There's an argument that he's one of the best left backs in the world even. And if he's not now, then he will be down the road. I'm not exaggerating when I say there is not one top manager in world football who I have ever witnessed in my 30 years of watching football who would ever choose Dan Burn to play left back over Lewis Hall. This decision is so beyond staggering. I mean, Dan Burn has had a terrible season. I'm sorry, I love him. I love him. That's why you know I'm telling the truth. He hasn't been good this season. Even at what he's supposed to do, as a centre-back, he's not been good, let alone as a fucking left-back. Lewis Hall had a few issues with the Bournemouth winger in the last game, and he got beaten for the first goal. He wasn't the only one who made a mistake for the first goal. Livramento was fucking terrible, but it was Lewis Hall who was hooked. Lewis Hall was the one who was made an example out of. The minute he made a single mistake. Do you know how many mistakes I watch Newcastle players make on a fucking game-by-game basis where no one gets subbed off, ever? It's worrying that you would pick on Lewis Hall, because Lewis Hall has been arguably our best player at this season, outside of maybe Bruno. Why would you single him out like that? Is it because he's angling for a move, the same way you're finally being a bit brave against Anthony Gordon with what you're doing behind the scenes that we're not supposed to talk about? Is that what's happening, is it? Because I'm very worried that you may be pissing off one of the brightest young talents this club has had in a long, long time, and he's now going to go into the summer with a totally different frame of mind because you're not backing him when he's made a mistake, when you've backed shitheads like fucking Alanga and Jacob Murphy week in, week out. They make fucking dozens of mistakes a game. When you look at what they did in the match, it's what did they actually do right, not what did they do wrong, because the list of what they've done wrong is that fucking long, mate. And he makes the odd mistake and you highlight it and you fucking dig him out for that. If I'm Lewis Hall and I know I've got your Man City's, Man United's and all these level of clubs who would love to take him on potentially, what are you thinking when Eddie Howe's treating you like this? And for Eddie Howe to even do this, did it even benefit the side? Did it shit? You should be thinking about what we can do on the ball and what we can exploit about them, not always worried about what they can do to us. It's the constant negative mind state that this guy is in. And at fullback, on the left and the right, we had a centre-back in Dan Burn and a centre midfielder in Lewis Smiley, with Kieran Trippier and Lewis Hall on the fucking bench. How do you work that one out? I know Miley is such a well-rounded footballer that you can get away with that, but come on, man. We want players playing in the right positions, and the logic that Eddie Howe gives for his team selections when he was saying, well, Voulta isn't picked because he doesn't train as well as Sula does. Well, he's training everything. That's what you're saying then. Training is what you pick your team sheets on. Okay. Well, Jacob Murphy must be training like fucking Ronaldinho because his performances in game are absolute dog shit. And if I'm Lewis Hall and watching this kid get picked, and I'm like, so he didn't track the fucking second goal. He did nothing. Even when I think he was on as a substitute, he should have had fresh legs to do some fucking running. But I'm the one who's dropped this week. The front three was Joe Willock, Jacob Murphy and Osula. To have that level of front three 4.5 years into the rebuild of this club with £700 million worth of investment, I find that utterly disgusting. I actually find that disgusting. I think Eddie Howe should be ashamed at that. That's the state that you've got this club in, and yet people are saying he should be allowed to do the fucking rebuild. All the lights on, man. If I'm a young up-and-coming footballer, I'm looking at the likes of Hall and Voulta sat on the bench and thinking, why the fuck would I want to go there when two of their most talented players can't even get a game because they're not pragmatic enough for Eddie Howe? Fuck that. If you're an exciting young footballer, stay the hell away from Newcastle United. I'm sorry. I think every agent will be knowing this already, given the way things have gone this season. But bloody hell, this is not an advert for the club, and it's certainly not an advert to be signed by Eddie Howe. And I mentioned it earlier, Anthony Gordon not playing, allegedly, the people in the know are basically saying, Alan Shearer's even said, like, he doesn't believe he's injured. Everyone's saying there's been an issue where Anthony Gordon is not happy. He obviously knows Bayern are in for him, at least Bayern. There'll probably be a couple of more clubs in for him. Originally this season, he didn't want to play a right side. Allegedly now, it's something about, does he even want to play a left side? Is he angry that he's not the striker? Because you've seen the way he went on over those fucking penalties against Karabakh. It's main character syndrome. And he doesn't have main character talent, unfortunately. He's not a technically gifted footballer. He's a fast footballer. Give him that. But Eddie's been an absolute pussy with him all season and giving in to every fucking thing. He's constantly worshipped Anthony Gordon, and only now has he put him in his place a little bit. And it's obvious he's only developed some balls, Eddie, because he knows this kid doesn't want to be here next season. So I don't respect it. And guess who else won't respect it? The players. Because we know the only reason he's doing it is because he's off. So that isn't real power, is it? Now, the first big moment of the game came in the first minute when a through ball into Osula finds him here. And I mean, credit to him for the run, right? I like Osula. He has some gifts, right? He's quite athletic. I will give him that. For him to be in this position and miss the football completely, unfortunately for Osula, it just highlights the level of the quality gap between a player like him and Anthony Gordon. Very similar. These are the kind of goals Anthony Gordon and Osula will score, right? They're not going to give you anything other than that. They'll run in behind. And yeah, Osula scored that wonder goal. That's never happened again, all right? In case anyone hasn't worked that out. This is his bread and butter. But for Osula to miss the ball completely, it just highlights the lack of technical ability that these are the players that Eddie chooses over Nick Voulta has. And Nick Voulta, who can do things that these guys can't even dream of, I'm afraid. Like, it's a gap that it's enormous. It's actually ridiculous. And I'm glad I can now laugh at the Eddie Howe selections, because obviously the season's over now, and it's almost like, instead of getting raging, I can almost laugh at what an idiot Eddie Howe was behaving like this season. And when Osula missed this ball, I just thought of Eddie. I thought, you fucking Wally. Look at what you're doing here. And this set piece that they scored, it really made me laugh, right? Because they had 3 corners, and they'd done the exact same thing 3 fucking times. And actually what they were trying to do was avoid whipping the ball into the box, because obviously we had Dan Burn and the like, and to go short. You'd have thought at some point the manager, assistant manager, the players, some fucker would have noticed the routine and gone, right, we're going to cut this out this time. They did the same thing 3 times. We did not adjust. Now the ball comes into Havertz inside the box here. What's amazing is he's got time to take a touch. He takes another touch, not tackled. He takes another touch, not tackled. Lays it into Eze, who is completely and utterly unmarked on the edge of the box. Reminder, they've done this before in this game, and we're only 10 minutes in. Eze smashes it in the top corner, and Nick Pope, who was brought in for Ramsdale, we'll get onto that in a bit, couldn't do fuck all about it. It was a great strike. It was one of the rare bits of quality in this game. It was fucking terrible. The thing that really surprised me about Arsenal in this game is that, knowing that they're in a goal difference situation with Man City, where they need to be aware of that, and knowing Newcastle have the ability to collapse. We've conceded 7 goals to Barcelona fucking 5 games ago. I thought Arsenal would get their teeth into us and really go for it. They didn't have the balls. And just watching the way they approached the game after taking the lead, I thought, I'll be surprised if you win the league now. Because that was really cowardly from them. They should have gone after us. If I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm thinking about that goal difference. That would have driven me wild how they sat back. It was actually cowardly like what Newcastle usually are when we score first. Sandro Tonali has a shot from, 40 fucking yards out. I mean, that and Bruno's shot from outside the box, that was all we did in the first half. Fuck all. And then we come to Eddie Howe's selection of Nick Pope, who a lot of people would have been surprised to see, because Ramsdale has proven over the course of the season he is the better goalkeeper. Pope is finished. But Eddie has this thing about picking his favourites, and I don't know why he keeps fucking... I think he keeps thinking, maybe they will work. Maybe... Have you not been watching any... Actually, that's the thing about his team sheets this season. It's like he doesn't even watch the games. When he talks about it's all about what they do in training. Should watch the games, you know. You might learn a thing or two, you muppet. So they send the ball over the top with Gyökeres chasing it, right? Now it's going off in this direction. Not for the first time. Nick Pope has felt the need to come out when the ball would have been very, very difficult to score from if you've got a defender running alongside him. This was almost a carbon copy of the Marseille goal, I think. Same exact situation. He doesn't need to come out. He's a fucking idiot. When you look at the direction of that ball's going, you've got Tonali, Chow, players coming back. He didn't need to do this. But at this point, he's committed and he's gonna fucking clatter the cunt, basically. And that's it. He misses the ball completely. Oh, how has my football club spent as much money as they have? And this is what I'm doing. We were supposed to be like Champions League, all of that. This is what I have to watch now. We're battling relegation, essentially. And then thinks, well, I've missed the ball. I might as well take the man. Fucking idiot. For me, is that a goal scoring opportunity? Is it last man back? I think Chow is there. Clearly, I don't think it's a sending off. I think it's fucking ridiculous, though. And there's a world in which a referee may have sent him off for that. We've seen dumber things done, for sure. And you just think about, like, Osula's miss in front of goal, Dan Burns' performance, which could have been way better with Lewis Holland, you know, Nick Pope. You see the count, like, this happens all season, the amount of bad decisions Eddie Howe's made this season. I think he's made more bad decisions than the likes of Rafa Benitez, Steve Bruce, or those managers in a single season, because with those managers, they did not have the level of quality that Eddie Howe has at the disposal to make different ideas, different decisions. They didn't have a lot of options. They just had the options they had. Because Eddie has a lot of options and so few ideas, it's really exposed his limitations as a manager and how bad he is at judging, ironically, what happens in training and who's ready to play. He's terrible at it. And Nick Voulta appearance off the bench showed that even further. It showed what I've been saying all fucking season. Nick Voulta plonks himself in this position here and demands the ball. I have to say, I wish we just had more players who would do this, because actually this isn't Nick Voulta's job. Nick Voulta should be on the back line using his height and his finishing ability to be the poacher he can be for Newcastle United, that we've seen he can be. That's provable. But because no one else has any level of real technique in this area, he has to come a little bit deeper, and he's been told to because Wissa's now on the pitch. But really, as we say for Germany, he needs a player who can do that for him, who can be the one to play him in. Because unfortunately for us, Nick Voulta can't play himself in and finish his own chances that he creates off, because that's how shit we are. That's really what we need. We need to clone this kid. And I'm saying I want 2 Voulta's. Eddie Howe doesn't even want 1. The genius that Nick Voulta shows here in this close space, players all around him, to just chip this ball. The level of technique that he uses to guide and float this ball with the most precision pass, but also the weight of it, the way he actually chips the ball. How many players in the Premier League this season will do that in a game? In that scenario, how many will have a shot and how many will do that? He might be the only one who would do what he did there. Some might have tried the pass to Wissa, to be fair. Would they have done it in the way he floated it over like that? I don't even think Bruno Fernandes would have done that. That's what a talent Voulta is. He does things that no one else is thinking about in the moment, and he thinks of where players are that other people are completely oblivious to. World class is thrown around a lot. This moment from Nick Voulta was world class. Bruno Guimaraes could not do what he did here. I'm sorry, I rate Bruno. He wouldn't have been able to play that ball. I know he wouldn't have. Neither would Lewis Hall. Even Lewis Miley wouldn't have done what he does. That's why he has to play every fucking game, because he is the only player really in this team who can make something out of nothing. I think the likes of Miley, Bruno, Lewis Hall, like real high-level players, I won't even put Tonali in that conversation, because on the ball, I think he's worthless, to be honest. This is exactly why I say that Nick Voulta is the most talented player at Newcastle United. And imagine he can't even get a game. He can't even start a game. I watch Arsenal. I think if Nick Voulta played for Arsenal, those fans would love him. He is an Arsene Wenger player to a T. The way he would help out the likes of Saka and those players like Eze who run off, he would be amazing for them. We just have an idiot of a manager who does not understand technical footballers. He hasn't got a clue. All he understands is we run harder, we run faster. That's Eddie Howe philosophy. It is a disgrace that this lad is getting the junk minutes to put balls on a plate like this for Johan Wissa. And Wissa completely fucks this up. I mean, what's this, 7 yards out? He jumps far too early. He is in the wrong position in the air. He could have let that drop and just hit it on the bounce almost, or he could have headed it in. Either or, that ball was so good. Take your pick, son. He connects with it and it flies over the bar. Brilliant chance. The best bit of quality from anyone in the game, outside of Eze's finish, to be fair to him. Wasted. And I've said all season, go back to the original videos when I was highlighting Voulta's play, I was saying he's being failed by his teammates. He's actually class. The teammates around him have no technical ability. He's on another level to them. He's thinking way better than they are. They need to get up to speed with him. I said that for fucking first month of watching this kid. I knew that, and Eddie Howe didn't. And instead of Eddie realising, shit, I actually need to get better players around this guy, he's on a whole nother level. He went, nice, he's not working, better take him out. And it's so funny because at the time people were like, yeah, this isn't clicking, get rid of Voulta. And since then, every Newcastle fan I know has gone, what a mistake that was, by the way, because this has gone to shit without him. Apparently, Eddie called him a special talent after the game and said he'll get a lot more minutes to impress if he continues playing the way he did against Arsenal. I mean, he impressed constantly at the start of the season, but you dropped them anyway. He scored 2 goals against Chelsea. He had 1 game against Man United, which was shocking. The crosses were terrible. He had no fucking good service at all. It was a terrible performance by the whole team, and yet you dropped them for Wissa, and you've never given him a consistent run up front since. You're a fucking moron, Eddie, for that. I'm sorry, you're a moron. Tell me if he keeps playing like this. He played like that constantly, man, at the start of the season, you fucking idiot. When Nick Voulta goes and plays for a side that actually moves, he is going to flourish because he is constantly thinking about players making runs, him making runs. That's the kind of system like a Jurgen Klopp Liverpool type side that he would thrive in. When Newcastle are on the ball, no one fucking moves. No one's trying to make those runs. No one's trying to come get the ball. Bruno Guimaraes had the ball early in the first half and he was looking. No one did fuck all. There's no bravery. There's no creativity. There's no thought. It is so stupid. He's levels above this side. In 2026 now, the most defeats in the Premier League go to Newcastle, Tottenham and Burnley. So we are now, this year, as bad as any side there is. So let's take a listen to what Eddie Howe had to say after the game.
I think it was our best defensive performance for a long, long time. I think we looked solid today. We looked good from a defensive viewpoint. There's some good bits with the ball as well during both halves.
Oh, God, honestly. Bits, good seconds. Those couple of seconds where Osula missed the ball completely and then Wissa put the ball over the bar. Out of 97 minutes, there were seconds that were good.
I thought we saw defensive resilience, a lot of block shots. I thought we didn't have the feeling or the look of a team that was going to concede today, whereas I think in recent weeks we have.
And this is annoying, right? Because so much of that is because Arsenal were just dog shit. They made us look better than what we were. There shouldn't be an Arsenal fan in the world proud of that performance. They were fucking terrible.
I thought there were some good individual performances within that. The team structure was good. So I think it was a lot better in that respect off the ball. I think it's, as I say, our best performance in a while.
Off the ball. That's all we care about at Newcastle United. What are we going to do? Off the ball. Off the ball, off the ball, off the ball. It's all he fucking thinks about. I long for a manager who really thinks about what are we going to do when we get the ball. Because it's so obvious, you know. When we get the ball, like I say, with this Bruno Guimaraes situation, there's a right, who's available? There's no automatic, you know, what we've been working on in training. All right, now I know to look for these runs, this switch. Nothing. It's see who's free, make it up as we go along.
Probably didn't create enough off the back of a lot of good build-up play, but positive signs, I think.
Positive signs, positive signs. He was asked if Newcastle should be looking over their shoulder now that obviously Leeds are right on with us at 40 points. We got 42, Forest 39. We are in a relegation battle now. That is a fact. But because of the likes of Nick Voulta, Bruno Guimaraes, we should have just a little too many points on the board to go down. So the reality here is we're just not shit enough to go down because we got a couple of quality players. But the system, the squad, it's all gone to rat shit. Much like Spurs last season, we're relying on teams being worse, not us deserving to stay up. We don't. We've been terrible. Eddie's reply to if he's looking over his shoulder, he says, I think we're looking at the fact that we haven't won games. It's too many games without positive results. So we're looking at next week trying to win a game, yada, yada, yada. Just totally ignored the question, which is the most Eddie Howe thing to do. This man is the Keir Starmer of football, by the way. The way he slips out of questions. Are you fucking joking me? He never answers a question properly. And look, I spoke earlier about the way Eddie sort of lowered the expectations of the entire fan base. I mean, people would just believe whatever Eddie says at this point. And, you know, the way people are going on about how good a performance that was. I mean, I'm surprised we didn't want to do a team photo after we lost 1-0. Like, it was marginally better than the dog shit we've been served up, yes. I don't care. I do not give a shit. Go and fucking beat Brighton, for God's sakes. And play Nick Voulta as a striker. Not as a 10, not as an 8, not as a 6. Just as a striker, please, for God's sakes. Start him and give him some fucking service. Now, I'm going to touch on the owners of Newcastle apparently saying to the reporters that we will be keeping Eddie Howe next season, no matter what happens. Newcastle have lost 16 games this season. Leeds have only lost 12, newly promoted. Sunderland the same. We are so beatable. You let this man spend 700 million building the side, and that is the situation you found yourself in, and you're just going to carry on. I've always said actions speak louder than words. The Newcastle ownership group, they like to say, we're challenging for all fronts. We're going to be number one. 2030, we're going to be competing for every trophy in the game. When you allow a manager to fall this far and to have spent as much money as he has and have no excuses left to turn to, and you say, yes, you're my manager for next season, that's acceptance. You are saying there will be no consequences. This is acceptable for us. And all right, we want you to do better, but you're not going to lose your job. That means it's acceptable. He hasn't paid the consequences. He's staying. And the mistakes he's made should mean that you do not want to make those mistakes again. And by keeping a manager in there who has spent so much money and made so many bad decisions this season, he has shown you through his actions, yes, can he win a cup and can he get you, you know, on a good season, potentially in that European conversation? Yeah. Can he take it to the next level and build from that when he's given all of the money? Absolutely not. He has proven that. That's not up for debate. His whole model of physical football falls to bits when he has to play more than one game a week. The data is there. And if you are ignoring all of that and you're ignoring all the data, despite telling the fans all of your aspirations and ambitions, it's either because you're too scared to change and you're worried that a new guy, it may go worse. I mean, how much worse can it get? It may also be that they just don't know a lot about football. Let's be real here. Eddie's self-appointed his director of football. This is the guy who's essentially supposed to whisper into the CEO's ear, you know, this guy needs to fucking go now. Eddie made him. He was like, yeah, this is the guy I want. Of course he's going to fight Eddie's corner. Our CEO seems a lot more of a commercial guy. He doesn't seem like a football guy. And these owners, how involved are they? I don't know. But I can't tell you how gutted I was when that report came out that Eddie was staying next season. I felt so deflated. I felt any hope for next season, or the long term of the project, more importantly, had just gone, because I've seen enough with Eddie. I already know his limitations. I know where he can go to. And if you think Eddie can break through the ceiling that he's shown clearly so far that he has, I just don't think you understand football, because we have seen these mistakes repeated time and time and time again. Doesn't mean Eddie's a terrible manager. Yes, he could probably go and manage a club that are 15th and get them up to 7th or something like that if you give him enough money. He's never, ever, ever going to manage at the elite level. He cannot win a Premier League title. He's never, ever going to be able to do that, in my opinion. I had hopes. It's over, man. You can't make the mistakes he's made and have that in your locker. It just doesn't make any sense. And I think Eddie's got far too much control at this club. And it's a real shame that right now, these owners are not saying what they're saying, going, oh, well, we'll just sign better players. And they should be terrified to give Eddie Howe more money from what he's done to this team. And they should be looking at Spurs and the way that they continued on that trajectory. And yes, they changed manager. They made the wrong call time and time again. But this is the warning sign this season. This is not a blip. This is a warning sign that the writing is on the wall and that we are going in a wrong direction here. And Eddie Howe is leading us in that wrong direction. So change the leader. And all the hope that I had that we'd get an exciting manager in and that we would change our profile of player that we go for and go away from this physical style of football and go towards a technical style of football that can allow us to go to that next level. I've given up all hope of it. This team is going nowhere, in my opinion, and I hope I'm wrong. I really, really do, but I can't say it. Thanks for watching. Anyway, I appreciate you all. I'll see you on the next one.